Hello, this is Warhammer Geheimnisnacht, a mod for Crusader Kings 2 that transforms the world into the world of Warhammer Fantasy. This is the legacy version that is meant to be used on the latest version of Crusader Kings 2, unlike the older ones where you had to revert it back to an older checksum in order to play it. The mod presents 5 different lists of pre-chosen characters to play as. We'll be going to the Empire Man to take part in the Vampire Wars. We will be playing as the famous Vlad von Karstein, the leader of the province of Sylvania. Conquest, we can either attack Imperial Talabakland with a huge event army, or get a smaller one and do nothing, but we're going to attack and take a risk. Imperial Talabakland is one of 4 major claimants of the Empire, which includes Imperial Westerland, Imperial Reichland, Imperial Middenland, and Ostland and Aberland independent, and they're just trying to chill out and survive. But we're beginning the Vampire Wars by attacking Imperial Talabakland, and we will eventually try to conquer it all. Vlad von Karstein, of course, is a Karstein vampire. He is an adherent to the vampiric religion, and his government is the Midnight Aristocracy. And in his artifacts, he has the Karstein ring, making him harder to kill than normal, and tons of warp stone. He also had his own bloodline, which will let characters become more ambitious very often. And he has his 5 sons, Hans, Fritz, Peter, Conrad, and Manfred. Due to the event at the start, outside of his raised levies he gets from his vassals and himself, he has an army mostly consistent of undead horde. He also has some vampire knights and a little bit of chariots, war beasts, and gunners. The Empress of Talabakland drags her vassal Ostermark into the fray, but they are still heavily outnumbered. That's some big expansion for Sylvania, eating up 2 provinces of the Empire. The Counselor of Ostermark and Princess Otto III of Talabakland are now subjects to Vlad von Karstein. Before we confront the remaining claimants, we're going to try and subjugate Aberland and Ostland, as they are smaller than us and they have no one really protecting them. The kind Grand Count of Aberland agrees, and no one is killed. The fine Grand Prince of Ostland does the same, and there is no wars to be had here. Just to annoy Kislav, we're going to subjugate the nearby Republic of Erengrad in the north. Erengrad joins peacefully. I hope every war is this easy. I have eaten my own words, but to recover I will say, fighting a 3-front war was intentional, I swear. Middenland drives to the center, and to the south, the Grand County of Stirland marches in the name of Empress Margarita of Westerland and attacks Sylvania proper. And to the west, Imperial Reichland is all quiet and crickets. Middenland loses a big battle, and as a result, a lot of their commanders are taken captive. A prisoner is sacrificed to give Vlad von Karstein more necromantic power to raise even more dead for his armies. Middenland falls to our control, but Westerland and Reichland are still kicking. Reichland is now active and attacking Aberland, and Stirland is still annoying us. The sacrifices of our prisoners were not in vain. We can now summon a great horde to crush our remaining enemies. The undead rise up. We get around 10,000 new soldiers, give or take, but the province they were raised in is tainted, so it now has lower morale, lower garrison size, and lower levies, but we get a humongous new horde, which is a good trade-off. A war herd of beastmen come into our provinces and wrecks a lot of things. To add to our list of problems, some greenskins have arrived and the orcs are trying to loot. The Grand Count of Stirland is captured in battle. He has been a thorn in our side for quite a while now, and he will get a reward deserving of this. The never-ending list of distractions continues. There is now a Talite religious uprising in Talabakland. The theologian leading the uprising has lost, so we got a special award for him. We will make him into a von Karstein vampire. Ortwald's transformation is complete. He has a new appearance, he follows the vampiric religion, and he also now has 5 new siblings. Reichland is defeated. The only outliers left is Kauerberg and Bolgenhofen, and Imperial Westerland now stands alone. Some adventurers try their luck and attempt to murder the great Vlad, but they are beaten down one by one. The Empire has a new look, that is for sure, and it seems to have a different name as well. Thanks to our subjugation of Reichland, we have obtained one of the most powerful parts of the Empire, the Moot. Middenheim cannot be taken so easily, but looking to the west, we have the Templars of Sigmar, and a single county, Kemperbad, and over besides that is some republics remaining, and some Norsicans who are stuck inside of our borders. The nearby ruined city of Middenheim is a good source of warpstone, and we will be sending in some expeditions to get inside to acquire more of it to use for our undead hordes. The Templars of Sigmar are very defiant, but they will soon be brought under the fold of the Empire of Sylvania. Everything looks a little bit more uniform now, but there is one remaining county held by Malkyr the Ancient, a Netrarch vampire. We can't attack him, but we can use him to craft some powerful items. Sylvania itself is not a very prosperous province because there isn't any trade routes traveling through it, but as we now control the entire empire, essentially, we can make use of every trade route passing through that instead. Grand Count Vlad von Karstein has created the title of the Empire, and he is now on the same level as Emperor Sigmar himself. By reunifying the Empire, we have earned the achievement United the Empire. The disadvantage of taking all of this land so fast, we now have all of our neighbors in a defensive pact against us, with the exception of Norsika across the sea and Ragnarheld, which is just waiting to be subjugated. There is some infighting between the von Karstein thralls. Conrad is killed by Fritz. Joining Conrad in permadeath is Manfred, who is killed by a Wisenlander count. With two of Vlad von Karstein's so-called sons killed, there is only 3 originals left. That is Hans, Fritz, and Peter. At a great cost of piety and necromantic power, we can begin piecing together a Abyssal Terror mount. Following our Norsican adventure, we have Ragnarheld, a Famar tributary, and on top of that, a Norsican king as another tributary. We have gathered our armies, and we are now at full strength, as close as we can get. We will now go on our own quest for Bretonnia. To give us the force we need, Vlad von Karstein will consume a warpstone cluster, giving him 5 necromantic power. All shall fall and serve me in death. This is the highest tier horde available as far as I know. 20,000? That's a literal death stack right there. Vlad von Karstein was actually killed by the monster hunters this time, so I'm sad to say this is a good game. And so if you want to see more of this, make sure to like and subscribe. Just kidding, he's up and running again, thanks to that ring that makes him incapable of dying. They are struggling to get their army together, and they are paying the price as we are surging across their border. The big battle is going down. We are met by Baron Bernat Artun of Chardonnay. He's a baron, but he should have a higher title, because look at those combat stats. Those are crazy. Their valiant effort crushed, and the main Bretonnian army is defeated. The Bretonnian capital of Bordello has a special building inside of it that makes sieges a lot more difficult because it raises its fort level. The Netrarch vampire Malkyr the Ancient completes the task we had asked of him, that is to create the Sword of Destruction, the best weapon he can make, and we will now be using that. So very beautiful and so very powerful. Also destructive. The war with Bretonnia is finished, and Sylvania has effectively doubled in size. The Red Duke of Mosylin may need some forceful encouragement to join the realm. We're also going to go after a piece of Astalia in the southwest, and maybe even pick at Kislev. Cross Kislev off the list because I may have started subjugating and not knowing when to stop. And now we have Astalia and Talilia, and we're fighting people who just said no. Somebody has stolen the von Karstein ring. Vlad is now a lot more vulnerable than he was before. We're fighting a lot of people right now, so we're going to hire some mercenaries to fill in the gaps where our military just isn't present. This will be the Dark Accord, the Dragon-Blooded, and the Nightmare Legion, so they'd be very useful there. And they coincidentally all are vampiric in what religion they follow. I guess because we're also vampiric, it attracts them and allows us to hire them. A lot of religious uprisings have broken out, and so has a few peasant revolts, and as a result, we are beginning to acquire a collection of prisoners. The Abyssal Terror Mount is completed, but its effects are not abysmal. It gives buffs to personal combat skill, movement speed, and morale damage and morale defense. Peace finally emerges in our great realm. If you want to sink your teeth into this mod, the link is in the description. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe.